There we go. Now it looks like we're
all right. Awesome.
Whew.
Gotta keep everybody waiting a little bit. Have that the velvet rope
grand
moment.
entrance.
Are you in or out? You on the list?
Yeah, nice.
That's great. Well, everybody that's just joining us, thanks for your patience. I know that might have taken a moment for us to actually let you in, but like we said, we want to keep you on your toes a little bit. We're gonna let folks trickle in, do our slight delay, and we'll kick things off here in just a moment. Thanks for being here. All right, panelists, we're gonna go live mic for this one. Feel free to jump in. We'll avoid the mute traps as best we can and keep some lively discussion going.
Living dangerously.
Little experiment here, yeah. Awesome. So I'm gonna, for the sake of time, go ahead and jump right into our discussion today. I want to start by just thanking everybody that's here. This UPLevel experience for myself has been such a great learning experience. To be able to host some of the best and brightest from our customer experience based industry, to really have folks that are behind the scenes creating the standards and organizations that support some of the most important business conversations that are happening in the world today. If we really think about what these client programs are doing and the value that they bring to the greater enterprise, I don't think it can really be understated how powerful the engagements and the conversations that these folks are supporting are. And it's really what keeps me coming back for more in this world of high stakes, high visibility engagements and meetings that we're all in day to day. The show must go on, and creating these unforgettable experiences is what keeps me coming back for more. So today I'm so excited to have some old friends from across the industry here. Some programs that I really admire from across the space to tell us a little bit about what they're up to and how they're looking at the greater industry today, and hopefully give us all some great takeaways as far as what's going on with their world-class organization that we can learn from. So I want to jump right into it and start with some quick introductions. Kevin, maybe I'll start with you, our man down in Dallas. How are things down in Tejas?
They're doing great. How are you? We're looking for warmer weather on the horizon, so summer's here.
I'm sure it will be. Warmer weather. It will be in Dallas for sure. So Kevin, just for the folks that don't know who you are already, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, maybe about a little bit on your history of how you joined the AT&T program, and a little bit about your offering there and the team that you're representing here today.
Great, thank you. I'm Kevin Powers. I'm with the executive briefing team at AT&T. We are part of a experiential marketing group organization that supports briefings, councils, thought leadership events, and various on-site activities. So I've been with the program for about 5 years as a briefing manager. So I work directly with the sales teams to engage them in opportunities to create memorable customer experiences. We are here to really inspire our customers. That's what really drives us. So I've got a lot of experience in the briefing world. In my prior life, working in with GTE, Verizon, came into the program as a freelance media producer. And once I got into this briefing environment, I was hooked. So I stayed primarily on the technical side until I jumped over to AT&T, and then really began to understand the programming side as it relates to interfacing with the customers. We've got a great team. We're really cross-functional amongst all the different groups within our experiential marketing team to really understand what is the best customer experience, whether it's on-site or virtual. We've got a very mature program. We're recognized by ABPM for our on-site and our physical briefing environments, as well as the way we put together our marketing efforts in the programming side of the house. we get a lot of accolades that way. But really, Marshall, what drives us and the accolades that we get from our sales teams and our customers, that we're hitting the mark, we're delivering a great value and an awesome customer experience. That's what keeps us going. So that's a little bit about who I am and a little bit about the AT&T program.
Love it, Kevin. Well, thanks for being here today. I can't wait to learn more about what you're actually doing with the AT&T program. So next, let's go to you, Bonnie. You're joining us from New England. So glad to have you here today. Tell us a little bit about yourself and what you're up to at Dell these days.
I sure will. Thank you, first of all, to you, Marshall and Signet, for hosting this today and letting us participate. I think that we all learned so much from each other. So it's just a great opportunity for us to learn and grow as programs, right? And I will say, even the weather on Cape Cod is getting quite warm already. So looking forward to that as well. So my name is Bonnie Bryce, Director of Strategic Programs for Dell Technologies. And I'm a longtime legacy EMC employee. So, you know, Dell acquired EMC years ago, but here for a very long time. And I started in the briefing profession back in 2011 it was a spinoff of EMC called VCE, which was a three-way joint venture between EMC, Cisco, and VMware. And they didn't have a briefing program at the time. And so they let me build the program and run the program. VCE was a very fast growing company, first to $1 billion ever in any industry. So it was super fast growth. And with that, the briefing program grew. So we were able to stand up 4 centers in 4 years. But when they hired me, they said, okay, you can have the job, you can open the centers, but you have no budget and you have no staff. So that was really fun. And I had to borrow people from across the organization to help me and you know, go around with the tin can to try to get money for supplies and things. So it was a really good learning experience. And then EMC took VCE over, and then Dell acquired EMC. And so I went from this very small company with literally no budget, no staff, to now one of the world's largest briefing programs, where we have 13 brick and mortar centers around the globe. We probably host in the tune of about 22,000 customer attendees in a year.
Wow.
Pre-COVID, 4,000 briefings in a year. Our staff is about 65. We have, I would say, about 40,000 sales makers, 2,600 discussion leaders to support this mammoth program. So it's nice to see the two extremes in terms of, you know, learning and understanding what it takes to build a world-class program. We're fortunate enough that Dell was an award winner from ABPM in world-class categories. So we're happy about that, but more happy that, you know, we can make an impact to the business and really drive business for Dell Technologies. So it's been a fun journey for sure.
Yeah, that's right. That's what it's all about. So thanks for being here today, Bonnie. Excited to learn more. So last but certainly not least, we've got Dave Rogers coming from Pacific Northwest. Dave, how's it going?
It's going well, and any extra warm weather you guys want to send our way, we will take it. So we're kind of in that in between phase here in the Northwest, where we get glimpses and then it goes back to being January. So, right. But yeah,
hopefully you'll see some sun soon.
Hopefully. So I'm the director of global operations, part of our customer engagement team at Microsoft, and our customer engagement team runs a lot of the high touch engagements with our top customers. So we're part of enterprise sales, and we do a lot of different types of engagement in different kind of facilities and programs. You know, the one that most people in this group will be familiar with is our executive briefing center and program at our headquarters in Redmond. But we also have Microsoft Technology Centers around the world. There are 45 locations, and they really support the local subsidiary and the local salespeople within that region. And they drive a lot more of the technical engagements directly with the account teams and the customers to solve specific business challenges. And then we also run executive sponsorship, where we're pairing our executives with as a sponsor for our top strategic accounts, so they have a direct access to our executive team should they need extra support. We run some executive events series. We run tours within our data centers at several of our data centers around the world. And then we also do a CEO co-innovation series where our CEOs, Satya Nadella, meets with a CEO of one of our top customers who is kind of a leader within their industry to work on more long-term horizon kind of go-to-market transformative deals and projects. So those are a lot of fun, but definitely very much more forward thinking and driving innovation. So
it's pretty extensive, Dave. It's a
Yeah.
lot going on. I'll do my best on behalf of our audience to try to help us kind of pick that apart and identify some meaningful components of that for everybody else out there that might not be quite at the same scale. So before we jump right into that conversation, I just want to take a second to recognize our audience that's out there. Super proud of the community that we've cultivated around this UPLevel series. Some of you were able to join us back when this was an on-site thing. We're really hoping to get back there again soon, where we were able to welcome our customers and friends into our headquarters and other locations around the country for this community-based event where we're able to share knowledge and sometimes have a cocktail with our peers, which is really the best kind of sharing and learning in my opinion. So thanks for being here virtually, y'all, and looking forward to when we can welcome you back to Signet HQ or another location in person again soon. But yeah, we've got some of the best and brightest here, not only on the panel, but in our audience today. A lot of talented folks. So thank you for your time. And let's get right into the discussion with our panelists. So like I said, introducing each of you, it's so apparent what a mature organization you represent. You each bring all of this experience within the industry. Been through many rodeos in this regard, and don't get too tripped up on the pressure and the little things that may really impact smaller programs or less mature programs. But what I want to understand is, at a high level view, really how you identify the different types of engagements that your program actually supports. You may have kind of sub-brands within the greater client program, or distinctions between those different types of agendas or offerings. So Bonnie, I want to start with you in the Dell program. I've always thought of your organization as being extremely kind of bringing this formality and organization to process that really sets you apart from some of the other firms that are out there. Can you talk to me a little bit about what types of offerings, what products you have in your portfolio, and what that means for your customers and the teams that you support?
Yes, yeah, I'd be happy to. So the executive briefing program is under the marketing umbrella, and we offer the customized one-on-one agendas. So every agenda we build is highly customized based on the customer's objectives. We call them outcome-based agendas. And so that is really the majority of what we do. We also have an extensive field briefing program. So if a customer can't come to one of our brick and mortar centers, we will bring that briefing experience to them wherever they are in the world. And we also recently launched something we call focused briefings. And so, when you look at what the executive briefing program does compared to the rest of marketing in general is the one-to-many conversations. What we're doing is that one-to-one customized agenda for each customer based on their objectives, right? A focused briefing is where we might have multiple customers together in a location. We'll bring them together because they have something in common. There's a theme, there's a focus. So they're called focused briefings. So they might start with a keynote where all of the customers are together for the keynote, but right after the keynote, we break them into individual rooms for their one-on-one customized agendas, right? That's the kind of the value we bring, is that it's specific to each and every customer. So yes, we will do a larger group, but it's mandatory that everyone's breaking into their own one-on-one customized agendas. So we're under this umbrella in marketing, but if you take that up a level, there's this customer engagement. We call it a customer engagement umbrella. There's another more technical arm at Dell Technologies called the Customer Solution Center. The Customer Solution Center is providing more technical conversations. It's the hands-on demos and it's the proof of concepts, all using the same briefing tool to request it, and it gets triaged right up front. Is it more technical or more business and executive level kinds of conversations? And so that's the branch between, we call it the CSC or the EBP, which is us.
Right. Okay. That makes a lot of sense. Thanks for breaking that down for us. So Kevin, next I want to go to you. You're as far as programs go, a fairly traditional structure, I would say. Tell us a little bit about the footprint and maybe how you distinguish between the different sites and the different offerings that you have within each of those.
Right. We've got two physical facilities, Bedminster, New Jersey, which is the home for one of 8 global network operations centers, as well as security operations centers. And at that particular environment, because it is so focused on network and security, we do a lot of deep dive conversations for customers who are looking to understand network management, monitoring, disaster recovery type of efforts, as well as a lot of the deep dive that needs to go into understanding the various ways to secure your network. Also within that facility, we've got a lot of the subject matter experts who are understanding our various applications and products. And within that, they can do demonstrations in that particular environment. We also have Dallas. Dallas is our flagship location. At this location, we typically have more of a strategic type of a customer offering, more of that C-level, more of the high touch type of customers coming to the facility. And within the Dallas EBC, we've got the opportunity to have various experiential marketing type of activities, understanding the story of AT&T through a docent-led type of experience. We also have a lot of very interactive kiosks that can help tell the story. And we've got a lot of the trending demonstrations and technologies in the Dallas EBC. So it's really based on, a lot of it can be based on geography, where the customer is located, but more importantly, where are those conversations going to have, what kind of conversation will take place. So in Dallas, we've got access to all of our executives, a lot of the thought leaderships, not only in the telecom industry, but some very interesting thought leaderships in regards to telling AT&T story about various other things that we're doing and that customers can benefit from, just understanding how AT&T offers some particular environments, or what we're doing internally, we can share that information with customers. We also do multi-customer events, as well as we are doing advisory councils, all within that subset of the experiential marketing team.
I love it. And for the audience, I just want to make a quick reminder. We've got a poll that's live right now where we're curious about what you actually offer in terms of engagements for your customers. This makes for great kind of follow-up content. The data that we generate here is really meaningful, not only for Signet in terms of product development, but I think just awareness in the greater industry. So if you have a moment, please let us know what you think. As I transition to you, Dave, I know that there's a lot to talk about here, but help me understand at a high level kind of what the different flavors of offerings are, the different brands within the organization that you represent, to help us understand what the landscape looks like at Microsoft and your specialized customer program.
Yeah, so I think starting at the top, our executive briefing center at our headquarters in Redmond is really the highest touch, customer engagement type that we have. There we really host our top strategic accounts. So it's C-level and kind of one click down of our largest accounts. We also have some exceptions to that if we're have a new customer or like a strategic compete deal or something like that. But generally, priority is given to our top strategic accounts with a large opportunity on the table.
About how many of those are there?
So we have, there's a lot of different ways of segmentation, but we have a strategic 500 list is kind of our core constituent that gets priority, and then there's major accounts and kind of the account segmentation goes down from there. But
okay, I don't want to distract. We'll talk about tiers for sure. So that's, you've got the Redmond EBC, and talk to me about the other offerings.
Yeah, so adjacent to also in Redmond is our Industry Experience Center. So that is more of the experiential. It's a 25,000 square foot warehouse that has lots of industry relevant immersive experiences. So that's generally it's a part of the Redmond executive briefing. In the field, in our technology centers that I talked about, is much more technical engagements. And so they're really working with customers to solve a specific business challenge, or working with the sales teams and account teams to close a specific deal within within their region. And the types of engagements they do, they will do a strategy briefing or something similar to an executive, what we would call an executive briefing, but it's more at the business decision maker or IT decision maker level in an organization. They also do a lot of proof of concept and hackathons, design thinking sessions. They may do a 2-week-long technical engagement where they mock up a customer's full IT environment and run workloads and really get very, very deep into the stack. So it's much more hands-on. And then our newest facility, which helps to bring those engagement types together, are experience centers. So we opened our first experience center in Singapore 2 years ago, Experience Center Asia. And so that has a full functioning technology center, but also adds that executive briefing engagement type and the immersive experiential tour. So it has some of those industry immersive experiences as well. And so that's our way of scaling, some of those experiences that you would get in Redmond to other customers that wouldn't ever qualify or be able to come to a briefing in Redmond. So we have that in Singapore. Chomping at the bit to open Silicon Valley and Mountain View. That was supposed to open a year ago, but obviously that wasn't meant to be, so soon. And then we also have centers that are under construction right now in EMEA, in Munich, and then also in Atlanta, which is going to be Microsoft's kind of second US headquarters. That'll be our second largest site in the US. So it handles East Coast and LATAM and other engagements there.
Interesting. That's it's a pretty broad range in your portfolio there. So thanks for sharing. I'm gonna close this poll, and as I think about this topic, this is something I've been bringing up a lot with customers and prospects that I've had the opportunity to engage with. I think that as we approach it, what's interesting to me is programs that are out there. This is by kind of default in our little industry, we seem to attract overachiever types, high performing alpha types for sure. And every organization that I'm talking to is looking for new ways to add value or new ways to kind of stand out within our own businesses or the greater industry at large. And I really think that giving some consideration to these different formats and types of engagements that the program can actually support as part of kind of your advertised portfolio of offerings, so that the greater business, sales and marketing organization, executive teams understand where you can be plugged into a particular conversation, whether it's a traditional kind of sales-driven opportunity or something that's a little bit softer, maybe just about relationship building or community outreach, as ways to leverage the specialized skill sets that you've been developing, training for, and hiring for over the years, so you can influence a greater range of business across the enterprise. And I think that's really exciting. So what you've all laid out are extremely kind of advanced examples of that. But I think if we can look within it at kind of what's possible there, a lot of opportunities to drive new traffic, new ways to add value for customer conversations, and really kind of distinguish yourself. Before I move on from this, I want to kind of double click on something as far as how you at your programs actually get the word out in terms of what you're able to support or what your unique value is beyond a traditional kind of business conversation that sales teams could support on their own. Maybe Bonnie, I want to give this one to you first. Do you have some sort of program website or brochure, or how do teams at Dell understand what all it is that you can do? How do you get the word out?
So sure, we have an external website for sure for Dell Technologies. We have an internal website where we have an entire page built out, one-stop shopping, anything you want to know about our offerings and what we do and how to engage with us is there. We have a special section for sales in particular, which includes templates for them to communicate with their customers on, why have a briefing, why would you come, what's the benefit to them. We even have resources for them to help them sell a briefing. So if they're getting stuck, we have a resource for them to, kind of figure out how to navigate that to get a customer to say yes. In terms of, getting the word out across Dell, as I mentioned, it's an enormous organization. There are 40,000 plus sales makers. It's our team getting on a whole lot of sales staff meetings, QBRs, getting in front of many audiences as possible. If someone wants to leverage our center, we might say, sure, you can leverage a space, but you can let us come in and talk for 5 minutes about what we do and how you engage with us. So we do that. It's a constant motion of us just always getting in front of sales. New hire for sales, we're always on the agenda for new hire. When you think you've communicated enough, you never have. You have to keep communicating. So.
Well said. I think if we could have one bullet point as a takeaway for this whole hour-long conversation, that could probably be it, Bonnie. And I think you and the team at Dell do a great job of being assertive, making your presence known, and the unique value that you bring to the table. I think that's really been, it's hard work, and kind of being willing to stand up and have those maybe potentially a little bit scary conversations to drive the recognition and the awareness of your program that it really takes to get funding and the support that you're going to need to build this sort of world-class organization that you've established at this point. So I think that's a great overview of kind of what makes that possible, how you're getting the word out. And there's a lot to discuss here. So we've only really unpacked at this point the brands or the products within your respective client programs. And there's certainly a level deeper that we can go as far as defining and outlining what the different levels within each of those engagements are. So Kevin, at AT&T, I believe you're doing a tiered model, or at least offering some separate categories between types of engagements. Tell me a little bit about how you define those and some of the criteria that goes into making some of those decisions.
We are constantly redefining that and trying to offer what we think is the best value to our sales teams. And we've actually simplified our program. At one point we did have a platinum level type of experience where we were offering the use of the corporate jet if necessary, the hotels, the transportation. But what we found is that many of our customers could no longer accept that level of gifting, if you will. So it wasn't too hard of a decision for us to not offer that, because through all of this, we've been able to up-level our briefings into a gold experience. So really it can be defined now more of a vertical alignment. What is the customer's vertical segment? And then how does that align? So as briefing consultants, we're aligned by verticals. So for example, I support healthcare, manufacturing, and retail. So when those customers are coming through the briefing environment, they come through me so that I can begin to offer my insights and expertise in regards to what we've seen before, how it can potentially work with your customer. So it's part of that upper level experience where everyone gets an amazing experience. It's defined on who they are vertically, and of course the C-level. If there are going to be C-levels in attendance, it does become a little bit more of a higher touch experience, because we want to match that with our C-levels, make sure there's some pairing in there. We also have C-levels who are aligned to support specific customers. So we make sure that alignment takes place. We make sure that the conversation is aligned very specifically to what is that customer really looking for and who is the best person to deliver that. And of course, it's that whole high touch environment. But really at a gold level, you're getting that. It's just a matter of aligning the content to the customer, sharing use cases and customer stories that are really relevant to the customer, because that's what it's about. There's a lot of surround, there's a lot of competition from everywhere. So how do we focus in on making sure that that experience is delightful for them, but more importantly, focused on really inspiring that customer to understand that the value prop, the various things and solutions that AT&T Business can offer is definitely something to consider as they go through their journey of digital transformation. And we're able to use that through storytelling, so some experiential marketing things that happen there on site, as well as sprinkling in the customization, be it a general customization or a very specific customization. And it's, it's the customization of your room warming type of activities. It's the customization of your messaging and your emails that are sent prior to the briefing, post-briefing. What is the look and feel of that? Are we communicating to the customer and signaling to them that, boy, this experience is going to be different than potentially other vendors or other groups that they hear from? And that's what we're all about, putting that experience together.
I love it. That makes sense. I mean, having those defined tiers and levels of briefings gives you those guideposts along the way to ensure that consistency and planning and the level of experience so that every customer is getting that kind of gold standard, as you say. That's pretty powerful stuff. So Dave, at Microsoft, this is, I know that we've got a lot to talk about, but within, maybe let's start with the greater EBC program. If we think about those 500 top tier accounts, do you distinguish within those what those are? Are there levels within that type of briefing, and then maybe it's your other offerings and experience centers and MTCs, or maybe more importantly, how do you make decisions on what gets routed where? If you could give us some insight there.
Sure. So there's not really kind of like a gold, silver, bronze tier within the executive briefing center itself. Essentially, if you meet the acceptance criteria, which is already a pretty high bar to have a briefing at the Redmond EBC, the experience is the same. The only distinction, with our what we call our marquee accounts, which I don't think they even know that they're marquee, because again, it gets a little politically challenging when you're designating, you're a more important customer to us than another.
I'm sure.
But there's more of an unofficial list, and those that have an executive sponsor on our senior leadership team or executive team. Really, the difference for those customers is executive participation. So our CEO may come and sit in on a session or have lunch, or their executive sponsor will join them for the engagement. That's really the only, I think, difference of what maybe the top 10% of engagements would have that the rest don't. Generally, they're all the same service level. We don't provide for transportation or lodging or any of that. The customer pays all of their own expenses to come, so that there's not a tiering there. But essentially, it is a consistent. I mean, it's a very high level offering for everyone.
Interesting. Between the different centers, if I had a opportunity, or I'm a sales account team member that wants to get a prospect or a customer into some sort of specialized engagement, we want to take that next step beyond what I could offer through a traditional Teams call. How do you look at that criteria, as far as, is it about the agenda that's being requested, or about the level of customers as far as routing a particular engagement request to something like an experience center or the MTC offering that you have?
Yeah, outside of being a strategic customer or having an opportunity or deal size of a certain threshold, those are kind of the more formal criteria. The other softer criteria are, say, is it an industry influencer? It may not be a big financial opportunity, but they are the leader in healthcare, and we want to have. So we would accept them as a briefing there. Or if it's a smaller account, we might encourage them to do a multi-account briefing. So we do multi-account briefings of smaller groups, either within a region or within a specific industry or around a specific topic or solution area, or kind of the three pivots, I guess, for those types of engagements. So that's another way that the smaller accounts could have a briefing in Redmond. Outside of that, we would refer them typically to their local MTC, or to one of our experience centers. Right now we only have EC Asia open, so that may not be a viable option. But as we roll out those centers in our major geographies, that will be the next step landing place for those smaller engagement types.
Fascinating. Okay. Well, Bonnie, I think that this is an area where you especially have a lot to offer, as far as the way that you've structured your service levels and tiers of the executive briefing program itself. Tell me a little bit about what those levels are and what they mean as far as the customer experience that you're delivering within each of those types of engagements or tiers of engagements.
Sure, happy to. So When the Dell acquisition first took place, we really had an opportunity to put a new strategy in place, a new go-to-market. So we literally took the ABPM world-class best practices and used that as our blueprint to put together a new go-to-market strategy. And we wanted to look at what the best programs were doing, right? They were proven strategies and initiatives. So the tiered briefing model was one that we adopted right away. And when historically what the programs were doing is you have a fixed number of resources to work on briefings, and they were all getting the same amount of time in planning and prep. And we didn't feel like that was the best use of time, that we wanted our team to be able to focus on the most strategically important accounts to Dell, right? So in order to do that, we had to put criteria in place. But first I should say that we rolled out a 3-tiered model. So it's platinum, gold, and silver.
Okay.
We purposefully and very intentionally wanted to make our platinum briefings exclusive and scarce. So you tend to want things if they're exclusive and they're scarce. So we created this. We wanted to drive people to want to have these platinum briefings. And we purposefully said we only want to do about 10% of our total briefings as a platinum experience. So then we put criteria in place, and it would include things like lead time. So in order to have a platinum briefing, our team really needed a lot more time to do the planning and preparation for the level of customization and exclusivity that we wanted to provide these customers. So lead time, also the type of account mattered, the level of customer attendee, because we're going to guarantee this peer-to-peer engagement. So if we're going to have our executive leadership team and Michael Adele attending these platinum briefings, we need to ensure that it's the C-level from the customers attending as well. And sales VP approval. So we needed to make sure that these were kind of vetted requests and that the sales leaders also agreed these are our most strategically important accounts. So the 3-tiered briefing model was launched. It really, they grabbed onto this, they want it, but with the platinum comes more work for the account team. So the message to sales is, look, we're not doing this to make it easier for you. It's not going to be easier. It's going to be more work, but what we're going to tell you, we're going to make more impact by having a platinum briefing. And we proved it, and we were able to do that. So with this exclusive experience, there is more planning and prep, as I mentioned. So our discussion leaders are very well prepared for when they walk into that room, or they're doing it virtually. We're doing research on the attendees. We're having multiple phone calls with the account team to get as much background information. We're asking for access to the customers, to have the customers engage before the briefing, and they're well vetted. We offer illustration. We have higher level gifts and things that would offer customized gifts for the customer. We ensure that it's that peer-to-peer engagement. So it's all of the highest level executives at Dell typically. It is strategic conversations, not really drill down in the products, but strategy, right? They're coming to hear the vision thought leaders of Dell Technologies, and that's what they get. We'll also bring in, if there's an assigned executive sponsor, the executive sponsor is engaging in that briefing. And I would have to, and then the additional resources. So one of the most important things is that they're facilitated sessions. So with the platinum briefing, you have a certified facilitator assigned to the briefing. They open the briefing, they transition between discussion leaders, they keep the conversation on track, they're taking action items. So the account teams can really just focus on their customer, and the facilitator and our team are doing the legwork for them. But the facilitator really up levels the experience to this highly professional, well-orchestrated briefing with the customers. Not to say that the gold and silver are not professional and they're not excellent, because they are all excellent, well-executed briefings. It's just you get that really highly customized experience with the platinum.
You know, Bonnie, I was going to say, Bonnie, I've got to smile when you say the word account teams think it's going to be an easy experience. Obviously, as a program, we want them to very easily engage with us, make it happen, get a date booked, et cetera, facilitation. But boy, we make them work very similar to probably you do. It is all about connecting with the customer, and we only know so much. We don't know the customer. And that's why we plan so meticulously to make sure that we get those insights. And I often think the customers, the account teams are like, wait a minute, you can't do that for me? I may meet you 50-50, but I'm not going to go all the way because it is your customer. So it's quite a collaborative effort, but it's a lot of fun.
Right. So our
Yeah.
team will do this customization document. So our team is researching, like I said, the customer, any headlines, were there any mergers, acquisitions, what's happening with the account, and then pretty much stalking the attendees, the customer attendees, so that we can find out as much about the attendees as possible to give it to the discussion leaders. So when they enter the briefing, they can maybe make this personal connection with the customer attendees, right? Because it's all about those relationships and the connections. So we do take our time to try to arm our discussion leaders with as much information as possible.
Yeah,
It's all
very well
about
said.
personalization and curated experience, right? That's what really kind of takes these briefings to the next level as far as that, what you can offer. So Bonnie, as I'm kind of transitioning here, something that I know a lot of us are curious about is just what you described is obviously a lot of work. It's a very impressive engagement, maybe not attainable for some of the programs in our audience. So, but just help us understand in terms of personnel and horsepower that you're putting behind these briefings. How many actual individuals from your team are working on a particular, say a platinum briefing versus a baseline, whatever the standard out of the box offering would be?
Well, what we do to balance the workload is if a briefing consultant is assigned a platinum briefing, we adjust their workload. So they're not going to get as many briefings in their briefing weeks as a gold or a silver. A silver, we're not doing, we're offering silver because we have to, because there are cases where a sales team doesn't give us enough notice, but they have to have this session. So we're providing a space, we're providing the logistics and the catering. What we're not doing is we're not securing their discussion leaders, and we're not providing all the bells and whistles for it, but we're helping them, just not as much. So that's not a huge lift. That's about 10% for us too. So 10% for the platinum, 10% for the gold, that's 80, for the silver, that's 80% for the gold. So the workload, we're balancing our resources based on which kind of tier they're being assigned. And we have shared services, meaning any briefing consultant can take any briefing. It's not by vertical, it's not by geo. We're sharing that so we can more evenly distribute the workload across our briefing consultants.
Very interesting. And okay, that's fascinating, Bonnie. So as I kind of transition here, a few things have really stood out to me in both the questions that I've been getting from the greater community and some of in our preparation, kind of outlining our talking points here. Some things that I think are really applicable to really any program are just this idea of standardization and what it can mean many things as far as your physical environment and the service level offering that you advertise to your requester teams internally, but just really having those the tiers well defined, and so you're not reinventing the wheel for every request that you're intaking. The efficiency that drives by just understanding what is platinum, what is silver, what is gold, within each of those categories, what you're going to be doing every time. So you're more consistent, you get to move quicker, and you can also set some expectations with the requesting teams, whoever they might be, about what's going to be required to deliver a certain level of experience. Oh, you wanted all those platinum elements in your briefing? Well, this is what we're going to need from you in return to actually make that possible. And when you put that on paper and you get it out there to everybody in your kind of user base, it can create a lot of opportunities to be more efficient and just provide a better level of service overall to all the customers. And then as we look at how from a broad range of programs, this idea of tiering doesn't necessarily, in my opinion, create complexity, but the ability to even offer on one side, maybe a light briefing offering, which could be combined with things like potentially multi-customer briefings, so you can touch a wider range of your audience, or with a slightly less intensive preparation for a particular conversation. So it allows you to touch customers and prospects that you may have never been able to serve previously by just defining what a slightly less intensive engagement might look like. And then of course, on the more exciting, the fun end of things, in the platinum top tier, is really being able to take control of what those elements of a world-class kind of premier experience might be, including things like leveraging sports suites in Seattle for some of these marquee and premier accounts, or at Dell, you're providing these really kind of sweet elements of personalization, like cupcakes and cookies with the client's name on them, customized jerseys for some of the local Boston sports teams. These little personal things that really are quite memorable, and even though they might seem trivial, deliver an experience that's really kind of unforgettable to the folks that you're providing it for. So I don't think we can lose sight of that kind of VIP. Everybody likes to see their name in lights and feel like they're the most important. Whether that's silly or not, it seems to be effective. So if we're seeing programs continue to leverage that kind of strategy. So as we, in our last few minutes here, we've looked into these various types and tiers of engagements, defining these tracks and guidelines for each of those. What we really haven't touched on, which is maybe a little bit of relief to everybody in the panel and the audience as well, is digital and virtual, and what that means to how we look at briefings, things that we've learned over the past year or so, but also what it means for our industry going forward. I think I just want to start real high level here with you, Kevin. I want you to talk about virtual, maybe some important learnings, and how you're kind of setting the course for the second half of 2021 and beyond. Are you going to keep virtual? Do you think it's beneficial to your program? Tell me a little bit about how you see that part of your offering today.
Well, the virtual briefing experience has always been a part of our program offering. It's been pretty much a secondary offering until COVID. And then, of course, it pretty much became a primary offering. One of the great things about it always being part of the program, once we moved to understand how to respond to COVID, we simply took some of those lessons learned and just applied it, redefined it to be more of a continual type of briefing experience. And we also took lessons learned from how other organizations within our experience marketing team were delivering customer messages on site, and how can we apply that to a virtual environment. And we actually came up with an amazingly collaborative effort between our team on the briefing side and the teams that do our councils, as well as our multi-customer events, as well as our on-site. And we created a virtual environment for AT&T Business. It's the hub.att.com, hub.att.com. And what we did was we placed that virtual world, and now we're able to bring that into our virtual briefing experience. So we're able to connect and invite our customers to come to this 3D immersive environment. And at the point of the time where the briefing begins, they connect, join via Teams, WebEx, and it brings them into the conference. So they're no longer coming into the standard calendar invite that just has a WebEx or a Teams link. They're coming into a very unique link that's kind of customized and personalized for who they are. They come into this world, they can explore it pre-briefing, and at the time of the briefing, they click go, and it opens up into the web conference. So we were able to do that by sharing information across the entire experiential marketing team. And that has really just up-leveled the experience for everybody. So virtual will continue to be a part of our briefing offering, but boy, are we really excited to start having things on site. That's the money for all of us, is that on-site engagement where you can really have a great conversation with the customer.
I know that we all are, and it's going to be a lot of fun to get back to that for sure. But as you say, undeniable the benefits that we've been able to understand of being able to offer a virtual offering, kind of a digitally native format for these discussions. And I think that what we're all understanding is, like you pointed out, we need specialized tools to kind of facilitate these conversations and really provide a level of value that is above and beyond what a sales team could do if the briefing program weren't in the picture, obviously. So tools like that customer portal that you mentioned, the hub at att.com, as a way to really drive that some kind of memorable experience and personalization to the conversation that you wouldn't have been able to do with just a standard Zoom call. So making those investments in technology and tools I know has been instrumental for you and the team as far as your learning over the last year. Bonnie, I want to go to you here, because I know that you've been fast and furious, been an advocate for virtual and hybrid, and how we can kind of adapt to this new paradigm. Talk to me about virtual briefings at Dell. Do you think it's something that you see value in, and you plan to continue offering even once we have the opportunity to get back into the site with physical briefings the way we used to do things?
Yeah, sure. So, when COVID hit and we had to all scramble and pivot to virtual, we dug deep, we responded very quickly. It's interesting because, our tiered briefing model was so well embraced by the executives at Dell. They came to us and said, we want a tiered briefing in the virtual space. So we created tiers, new tiers, different tiers in the virtual world. So we have a virtual briefing and an enhanced virtual briefing. The enhanced virtual briefing, again, comes with a bit more lead time. There are certain criteria that you need to meet, just like our platinum briefings. But we have additional resources. We had to create 2 new roles to support these enhanced virtual. So we created a moderator role and a co-moderator role. And so for every enhanced briefing, we would assign these 2 additional resources to ensure that, it was impactful and successful. It was an opportunity for us to recreate ourselves, but we had to prove to sales that we could keep their customers engaged and that it would be this great, impactful, high-powered experience for their customers. They didn't believe that could be possible. So we reinvented ourselves, we proved it, but this enhanced virtual briefing opportunity really helped solidify that, for the account teams. So as we consider return to site, we are responding and working fast and furious. So we, through ABPM, had created this hybrid task force that I was a part of. Internal to Dell Technologies, we also have created a hybrid task force. So we're looking to other stakeholders across Dell Technologies to ensure that everyone is kind of feeling the same. We believe that when we return to site, it'll be a combination. It will be some 100% face-to-face. It will be some 100% virtual briefings, but they're going to be, we believe a majority will be hybrid. Hybrid to us means you will be hosting customers in person at the same time as they're dialing in virtually, right? So it's that simultaneous and managing both audiences. So how do you democratize the experience between the in-person audience and the remote attendee, right? And making sure that the virtual people feel they have the same physical space as the people that are sitting in the room. And so here is where we're going to dig deep, and we're looking at deploying all kinds of new technologies, because we believe that this is the opportunity to reinvent ourselves again, to prove our value. But we believe that we can have an even more immersive and engaging experience with hybrid than we ever did before in either one of the, all face-to-face or all virtual. So we look at it as a brand new opportunity for us to really make an impact to Dell Technologies.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think you did a great job of kind of laying out a lot of the challenges and considerations that you have worked through and are still kind of optimizing around those. But as far as the positives and silver lining, if you will, around the velocity of just, not needing to require travel to get folks in the same conversation together. And also, this kind of borderless approach, if you will, where you can tap subject matter experts from anywhere. In our conversations offline, you dropped a really interesting fact on us. Who in the last year has been kind of your main discussion leader in your executive briefing?
Yeah, so true silver lining, right? Yeah, and I think for most programs, customers don't have the expense of traveling. So what we learned is more customers are attending each briefing. So you might have 8 people in person. Now that it's virtual, you might have 40 customer attendees. So it's that direct connection with these multiple customers, direct contact with our executive leaderships. Michael Dell himself was the #1 discussion leader when we pivoted to virtual.
Amazing.
I mean, it's like an amazing stat. We could have never predicted this would happen, but it is just more face-to-face customers with our executives. There are no barriers to discussion leaders. You can tap any subject matter expert anywhere. They don't need to travel. There's no barrier to getting there. So we have much more opportunity to have more discussion leaders engaged. And customer attendees. So there are so many silver linings that we wouldn't have predicted.
I really wouldn't be be able to behave myself. I feel like I'm pretty good at keeping it cool. And if Michael Dell showed up on my briefing call, I think I might lose my composure a little bit as a fanboy. Yeah. Okay. So thanks for that, Bonnie. And in our last couple minutes here, so Dave, we've been talking a lot about the size and scale, the kind of machine that you have there at Microsoft. I mean, it's a necessary thing, obviously, considering how competitive your segment, really all the segments represented here today are, that's really just not an option. But if you were to put on, maybe get in your time machine to a few years ago, or put on your kind of emerging program cap for me, I'm going to ask you to go out on a limb for me and do some imagining here. What do you see as exciting for smaller programs about this shift that we all had to make to virtual? And what are some of the key things that they might be able to take away as far as delivering a fantastic experience that may be kind of digitally native or virtual first as far as what they're offering?
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly, COVID and the comfort level of everyone being able to do video conferencing in whatever form has really democratized customer engagements. I mean, the barrier to entry from a financial perspective, from a real estate perspective. I mean, I'm basically sitting in a closet right now, with with some lights and a microphone and a monitor. You don't need a big fancy briefing center to do a great customer engagement. And this modality creates so much personal connection and just really genuine communication. You're literally being invited into the homes in a lot of times of your customers. So it presents a fantastic opportunity for smaller programs to engage with customers that never would have traveled. I think even for us, there's a lot of customers that don't like Microsoft or don't, are really fond of our competitors and wouldn't travel for a 2-day engagement or a full day engagement. But we can get them on a Teams call for 2 hours to talk about, maybe let's think about something new. So I think for small programs and big programs both, it presents a whole nother opportunity and way to engage with your customers that really wasn't possible before. People just weren't comfortable with before.
Yeah, I think that's so powerful, Dave. I mean, especially with the point you make about the fact that you're just in a closet, right? Maybe it's kind of specialized, acoustical treatment and whatnot, but the reality is we've been as kind of the sales community talking about how having decent lighting and a decent audio setup for kind of capturing your microphone audio and those elements of the digital conversation are kind of the equivalent of a tailored Italian suit in the 80s, right? It's about showing up and presenting professionally. And the resources that are required to build an environment like you're presenting from are far less than the kind of classic marble and mahogany and those architectural elements that really defined a briefing center of the past. So a lot of exciting opportunities to create impact and for these younger programs to really stand out and to innovate and maybe outpace some of the big programs that we have here, because the playing field has been level set, if you will. So I'm really excited to continue seeing what programs are doing. We've seen so many interesting tools and technologies emerge out of this need to engage customers in a new and different way. And so I think there's a lot still ahead, but if we think about complementing that virtual offering, a truly digital offering, with this hopeful idea of returning to in-person briefings here soon, I'm pretty excited for the remainder of 2021 and 22. I think I don't know. Hopefully this is our beginning to another roaring 20s. We'll have to see, but a lot of excitement in the space, and I think that you guys are really leading the charge there. So everybody that joined us today, to the panel, to Kevin, Dave, Bonnie, thank you so much for spending some time with us and letting us learn from your wealth of experience and what you're doing at the program. We couldn't do this without your thought leadership. So thank you for being here, everybody.
Thank you
for pulling this together. Appreciate it.
Yes, thank you so much.
Yeah, appreciate
Great.
Signet.
Okay.
Yep. Good stuff.
Well, until next time, team, we'll be back next quarter and sending out some follow-up in terms of recording and notes from this engagement. the panelists and everybody in the audience, take care and look forward to seeing you soon. Thanks a lot.
See you later. Thank
All right,
you.
take care.
All right, bye.